Who was Hasan Sabbah? A brilliant strategist, a religious revolutionary, or simply a myth shaped by fear? In this video, we dive into the mysterious world of Alamut Castle and the man who turned it into a symbol of power and secrecy. The name Hasan Sabbah echoes across centuries, linked with assassins, drugs, and shadowy cults. But is this image historically accurate, or the result of medieval propaganda and Western fantasy? Our journey will take us through deserts and mountains, from ancient libraries to secret rituals, piecing together the legacy of a man who defied empires. Before we begin, forget everything you think you know. The truth lies somewhere between fact and legend, and it's more fascinating than either. Born in Qom, a center of Islamic scholarship, Hasan Sabbah grew up immersed in theology and philosophy. But early on, he began questioning the dogmas around him. He traveled across Persia, studying under scholars, debating imams, and eventually finding inspiration in the Ismaili sect, a branch considered heretical by many. This inner rebellion marked the beginning of a lifelong mission, one that would shake the foundations of power in the Islamic world. In the heart of northern Persia stood Alamut, a fortress carved into the mountains, nearly unreachable and perfect for defense. Hasan Sabbah saw not just a stronghold, but a symbol. He knew that controlling Alamut wouldn't require an army, it would require faith, persuasion, and patience. He sent his followers in slowly, posing as servants, workers, and scholars. Over time, they spread his ideology from within. Without bloodshed, he gained influence over the residents, and eventually even the ruler himself. It was a conquest not of swords, but of minds. By 1090, Alamut was under his control, but instead of luxury or indulgence, he imposed strict discipline. The fortress became a place of study, training, and unwavering commitment. Here, the seeds of a new order were planted, one that would terrify empires. From Alamut's high towers, letters were sent, messengers trained, and ideas forged. It wasn't just a hideout, it was a center of operations for a revolutionary movement. Hasan Sabbah had carved not just stone, but history itself, high into the mountain. Inside Alamut, Hasan Sabbah created an elite force unlike anything the world had seen. These were the Fedai, men trained not just to fight, but to die for their cause. Chosen for their loyalty, they underwent intense spiritual and physical conditioning, learning that death in service was the highest honor imaginable. The Fedai lived in complete isolation from the outside world. Their days were filled with prayer, study, and rigorous mental discipline. They memorized religious doctrine, studied enemy tactics, and practiced stealth operations. Everything they did prepared them for a single purpose: absolute obedience to Sabbah's will. Missions given to the Fedai were sacred. A target could be days away or buried deep within an enemy fortress. Regardless of danger, they carried out their orders with calm precision. Often they accepted death without hesitation, believing their sacrifice would echo through history. What made the Fedai so terrifying wasn't just their skill, it was their willingness to die. They didn't flee, didn't beg, didn't hesitate. To rulers, they were ghosts, silent, patient, and deadly. The very idea that a Fedai could be anywhere made kings lose sleep. Their actions spread fear far beyond the battlefield. They didn't need armies, only belief, and that belief made them unstoppable. As stories of their missions spread, so did Sabbah's power. He ruled not through armies, but through myth and devotion. In the end, the Fedai were more than just soldiers. They were living symbols, proof that an idea, once planted deep enough, could override fear, instinct, even self-preservation. They weren't just defending Alamut. They were defending a vision of the world. Assassination was never random. Hasan Sabbah selected his targets with surgical precision. Powerful rulers, influential clerics, military commanders. Each mission served a purpose. Killing one man could paralyze an entire city. It wasn't just violence, it was strategy, designed to shift fear from the battlefield to the throne. Fedai strikes often happened in public, in mosques, palaces, markets. They made no effort to escape. Instead, they stood calmly beside their victim, awaiting death. The message was chilling. We do not fear you, and we are already prepared to die. After only a few successful assassinations, panic spread across the region. No amount of guards or locked doors could guarantee safety. Rulers grew paranoid. Every servant, every stranger became a potential threat. Fear did more damage than any army ever could. Some rulers, fearing assassination, began negotiating with Sabbah directly, offering bribes or alliances in return for safety. In this way, Sabbah's influence extended beyond borders. He didn't need to conquer cities. A few precise deaths achieved what armies never could. What terrified leaders most was the unpredictability. A Fedai could be a servant, a merchant, even a friend. The possibility of sudden death kept empires trembling. Sabbah didn't just kill people, he shattered their sense of control. In a world ruled by swords and armies, Sabbah proved that fear could be a greater weapon. With no kingdom, no army, and no crown, he made kings bow with silence, shadows, and sacrifice. The word assassin is often linked to hashashin, suggesting Sabbah's men were drugged with hashish to create blind loyalty. This idea spread through crusader stories, painting the Fedai as deluded fanatics. But was it historical truth, or medieval propaganda? No contemporary Ismaili records mention the use of hashish. Instead, they describe a strict culture of study, obedience, and discipline. The idea of drugged assassins likely came from outsiders, trying to discredit a movement they didn't understand. The hashish tale served a purpose. It made the Fedai seem less rational, less human. If enemies were drugged and brainwashed, they didn't need to be understood, only feared. This narrative made it easier to demonize Sabbah and his followers. True or not, the legend stuck. Hashashin became a term of terror, echoed across Europe. But the real drug wasn't a plant. It was belief. And belief, when weaponized, can be far more intoxicating than any substance. Was Hasan Sabbah a spiritual guide or a political mastermind? The truth is, he was both. His Ismaili teachings challenged dominant Sunni interpretations, offering a secret path to divine truth that only a chosen few could access. This exclusivity gave the movement a sense of sacred rebellion. Inside Alamut, theology met strategy. Religion wasn't just belief, it was structure, hierarchy, and power. Sabbah used ritual and doctrine to create a disciplined society, where every role had purpose and every follower believed they were part of something eternal. His ideology blurred the lines between faith and politics. Loyalty to Sabbah became both a spiritual devotion and a political allegiance. In resisting external empires, he also resisted spiritual conformity, offering a new vision of power rooted in hidden knowledge. To the outside world, Sabbah's ideas were dangerous, but to his followers, they were liberating. In his world, truth was not imposed, it was discovered, and those who discovered it became unshakable. For decades, Alamut stood untouchable, protected by its geography and legend. But in 1256, the Mongols came. Led by Hulagu Khan, Their campaign wasn't just military, it was symbolic. They wanted to erase Alamut from history, not just from maps. The siege was brutal. Mongol forces surrounded the mountain fortress with overwhelming numbers. After fierce resistance, Alamut fell. Its towers burned. Its libraries, filled with philosophy, theology, and science, were destroyed. Hasan Sabbah had died decades earlier, but the legacy he built collapsed in flames. The fall of Alamut wasn't just the end of a fortress. It was the silencing of a revolutionary experiment. Yet even in ruin, Alamut's name survived. It lived on in whispers and fear, in legends and books. You can burn stone, but you can't burn an idea. Sabbah's idea had already taken root in history. Hasan Sabbah's name echoes through time, reshaped by myth and media. He appears in novels, history books, and video games. Some see him as a mastermind, others as a villain, but all agree his story never truly ended. Assassin's Creed made him famous to a new generation, but the truth is far more complex than fiction. Sabbah's real legacy isn't just about killing. It's about how belief can shape history. Popular culture often ignores the philosophy behind the fear. Sabbah wasn't just a man with daggers. He was a man with ideas. He questioned authority and rewrote spiritual power. That's what made him dangerous and unforgettable. Today, he exists somewhere between legend and symbol. We may never know the full truth, but we still tell his story because it reflects something deep within us: the power of belief and the fear of what it can become. What makes someone embrace death for an idea? Hasan Sabbah understood the mind better than most rulers of his time. He didn't need chains, he offered meaning. When belief fills every corner of thought, fear disappears. Inside Alamut, life was stripped of distraction. There was no noise, no chaos, only structure, ritual, and purpose. Followers didn't just believe, they became the belief. Their identities were rebuilt around devotion. The Fedai were not lunatics. They were conditioned to see sacrifice as transcendence. Martyrdom wasn't an end, it was transformation. In their eyes, death was a doorway, not defeat. Doubt was dismantled through repetition and silence. You didn't question orders, you absorbed them. By removing the self, Alamut created unshakable loyalty. This wasn't madness, it was design. Sabbah proved you don't need armies to build an empire. You need belief, purpose, and a controlled environment. Psychological warfare didn't begin in the 20th century. It began with him. He fought not with weapons, but with conviction. His system was psychological architecture. Every ritual was a brick, every lesson a wall. The fortress he built wasn't just of stone, it was in their minds. And that fortress never truly fell. Hasan Sabbah's influence didn't vanish with Alamut's fall. His methods survive in modern intelligence and guerrilla warfare. Cell structures, ideological training, and symbolic action all echo his legacy. He proved that control doesn't always need territory. Movements across the world still use tactics he pioneered: strike fast, vanish, spread fear. That formula remains timeless. He taught that ideas can be weapons and belief can be armor. and many listened. Some call him a proto-terrorist, others call him a revolutionary, but all agree he changed how power could be used, not with armies, but with meaning. Even today, leaders fear ideas more than enemies. Ideas spread faster, dig deeper, and endure longer. Sabbah knew this 1,000 years ago. That's why he focused on minds, not land. From novels to video games, his shadow still appears. He became a myth, a symbol, a warning, a reminder that belief, when unshaken, can challenge empires, and sometimes even outlast them. Sabbah's legacy isn't just historical, it's psychological. He showed that the most lasting power is the one you can't see, not flags or armies, but the unseen grip of belief. That's what still echoes today. Was Hasan Sabbah a hero or a villain? A genius or a madman? His story resists easy answers. What we know is shaped by myth, fear, and time. He never built a kingdom, but he built something stronger, a system of belief that didn't require walls or armies. His fortress was built in the minds of people, and that's why it still survives. Sabbah showed that ideas could move faster than weapons, that fear, when directed with purpose, becomes control, and that faith, when absolute, becomes power. These lessons still shape the world we live in. Whether we see him as monster or master, one thing is certain: he left a mark no army could erase, a whisper across centuries that still challenges how we understand belief, fear, and control. Maybe that's why we keep telling his story, because deep down, we know belief is dangerous and powerful, and Sabbah used that power better than almost anyone in history. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into forgotten history. What do you think? Was Hasan Sabbah a genius or a myth? Let us know in the comments.